Good evening, everybody. Once again, this is a UFC 139 post-fight recap with Seth Thunderheart. And tonight, the UFC event taking place at San Jose, California. And man, the card was so excellent tonight, and the fights were so fun to watch tonight. I mean, many of these fights that happened tonight were made at that caliber type of fights. So, what I mean by that? I'm going to get right to it. So, this is one of those times, though, before I do, is one of those times when I really felt really proud to be a UFC and MMA fan. So, here we go. Now, the first one, of course, is Shamar Bailey versus Danny Castillo. And the winner is Danny Castillo TKO. I mean, this didn't really take long. And actually, the thing about it was Danny Castillo took Shamar Bailey to the ground and simply grounded and pounded him basically throughout the first round, actually. And then Shamar tried tried hard to escape and was trying to defend himself, but the guy, Danny Castillo, was so great on the ground that he just somehow just got to a point where he finally got some clean shots and hit him. And within near the end, at the basically it was only 8 seconds left. 8 seconds left until round one was over. But Shamar Bailey just couldn't answer, and he just kept covering up, and the referee just stopped the fight for a TKO victory. So congratulations on Danny Castillo on that. And Matt Brown versus Matt Brown versus Seth Baczynski. Yeah, Baczynski. And the winner is Seth Baczynski's submission. I mean, let me put it like this. I didn't necessarily watch the whole fight. When I walked into the sports bar, I just saw basically the submission victory as far as the guillotine when Baczynski had Matt Brown in a nice guillotine choke and choked him so well that Matt Brown had to tap out. So I wish I saw how Matt Brown got to that position, but he hasn't been doing so well anyway in the last few fights. So I don't know if he's going to be staying around the UFC or not. If he's going, he's going. If he's staying, well, he needs to start winning more fights. Let's put it that way. So, but congratulations, Seth Baczynski, on a nice, excellent submission victory. And Miguel Torres versus Nick Pace. And the winner is Miguel Torres, unanimous decision. I heard that was pretty good. And Gleison Tibau versus Rafael dos Anjos. And the winner is Gleison Tibau, split decision. I heard that was a pretty close fight in itself, too. So, congratulations, Gleison, anyway. And Tom Lawlor versus Chris Weidman, and the winner is Chris Weidman's submission. I mean, let's put it like this. I mean, they both started off, great striking, different things like that, and then as soon as they had basically had it against each other against the fence, and they kept hitting each other and so forth, Chris Weidman was able to basically was pounding him on the fence, but then he actually snuck in a anaconda choke, which actually he first started with it, but then as soon as he flipped over and actually turned him over to a point where he was actually nearly mounted him, but rather than actually mounting him on top, he actually had him near to the side and still had it hung on so tightly that, of course, Lawlor wasn't moving, and I'm like, what's going on? And that's why I figured that, oh, wait a minute, he's getting choked out. And then of course he wasn't moving, so the referee finally stopped the fight because the fact that he uses anaconda choke, and of course Lawlor did not tap out, but he was choked out, passed out of anything. So congratulations, Chris Weidman, and an awesome anaconda choke submission victory. It's one of the best ones I've seen all year. So congrats. And Michael McDonald versus Alex Soto. And the winner is Michael McDonald via knockout. So I didn't get a chance to see this one, but I heard that was pretty good. So, in any event. And this next one was the one I didn't really see, and this one was a must-win for Ryan Bader. So Ryan Bader versus Jason Brilz, and the winner, of course, is Ryan Bader via a knockout. I mean, like I said, this was a must-win because he's already had 2 losses with John Jones, who's now the light heavyweight champion, and also Tito Ortiz, the former light heavyweight champion. And so how they started off, didn't take too long at all. They started off basically with strikes, punches, and various other things. But of course, Ryan Bader had the better exchange because he was actually landing some good shots, and it even got to a point where Jason Brilz was getting himself in trouble, and then it looked like he actually threw a Superman punch and hit him, rocked him hard, and he went down. But when the replay started to happen, it wasn't a Superman punch, so to speak, but it was actually almost like a slip and slide, straight punch right to Jason Brilz's face, actually his side of the head. He went down, and that's when, of course, Ryan Bader went and pounded on him, and that's when the referee stopped the fight and declared a knockout victory. So, congratulations, Ryan Bader. Now, is Ryan Bader back per se? Let's just see. Ryan Bader was undefeated for a long time until John Jones got the better of him, and also Tito Ortiz got the better of him. One of the best things that I really feel that Ryan Bader could do the greatest is, of course, not to get choked out. And one of the key things that I started to see that is actually his Achilles heel, and that's a lot of people's Achilles heel, but I truly feel that the real Achilles heel has been the guillotine choke. So if he can get himself away from being guillotined, then he'll be great. She should be fine. So, any event, and then Stephan Bonnor versus Kyle Kingsbury. The winner is Stephan Bonnor, unanimous decision. What do I say? Basically, it started out with some strikes in round one, but I had a feeling that once Stephan Bonnor took the guy to the ground, meaning Kyle Kingsbury to the ground, it was going to be all on him. And boy, I was not disappointed, and I was right, because basically throughout around the end of round one, that's when he started taking him down. That's when he noticed that he had his way with him. And of course, then throughout round two and round three, Stephan Bonnor basically dominated Kingsbury. Kingsbury didn't really do much of anything. He just kept scrambling and trying to get out, but Stephan Bonnor was throwing punches, was all having side controls, upper mounts, and he was even then have another side control, changing many positions. But Stephan Bonnor, to my surprise, didn't necessarily finish the fight. He didn't even finish it with a real effective ground and pound. But he had so many chances of slapping on submission attempts, whether it's with his legs or with arm bars and just arm triangle chokes and things like that. But it wasn't happening. I don't know if Stephan Bonnor was just trying too hard to ground and pound, or what he was trying to do that was different. But it just wasn't. I really felt he lost a lot of opportunities to submit the guy and really finish the fight. But nonetheless, he still won via dominant fashion. And so congratulations, Stephan Bonnor, on that excellent victory there. And the next one was Martin Kampmann versus Rick Story. And the winner is Martin Kampmann, split decision. That boy barely made it by. What I mean by that is that Martin Kampmann has been on a losing streak throughout the last year in the UFC, and so he finally had a win tonight against a very game Rick Story, who has actually been on a roll throughout the year, if anything. He's actually had been winning throughout the year, whereas Martin Kampmann has been on a losing streak, but now he's back on a winning track, so to speak. Let's see if he can keep it up that way. Just barely a split decision, so he has to. I think if he really wants to go up to the top, meaning Martin Kampmann, he's really going to have to up his game, to say the least, because he barely, like I said, he has barely got out of this alive. But I'm glad he did. Now let's see how he can move up in the UFC, even anything. So, and then this was an excellent one, Urijah Faber versus Brian Brilz, and the winner is Urijah Faber's submission with a guillotine choke, and that made submission of the night. And how did that happen? Basically, like this. It started. They were throwing wild punches and kicks in the first round, and even did some grappling and things like that. But it didn't really last too long on the ground, and it kept on being on the feet on the first round. This kind of stuff. It's one of those things. Like I said, especially the bantamweight and the featherweight is one of the key things why I like to watch these kind of guys go at it, because they get so fast, furious, and a lot of energy that's behind it, and it's just the excitement, the action is just so exciting, it's unbelievable. And of course, when the second round started happening, it didn't take very long, because then that's when Urijah Faber finally snuck in a nice long uppercut right towards the side of the jaw of Brilz right there, and that's what was the beginning of the egg, and it rocked him. And then that's when he went and cornered him in the fence and started pounding on him and dropping elbows and stuff like that. But then what he really did was he grabbed him by his neck, turned him over, and actually flipped him over to a point where he actually got into a mount position, yet he actually had him in a nice guillotine choke and actually leveraged it up and actually pulled him back and really choked him out to a point where, of course, Brilz had no point but to just tap his back and all that nonsense. So Urijah Faber is now the #1 contender for the Bantamweight Championship once again against, of course, Dominic Cruz. So now it will be Urijah Faber versus Dominic Cruz 3 at some point in the future. And as far as Brian Brilz, I mean, he definitely has nothing to be ashamed for. I mean, he was already a former WEC featherweight champion. So now he just has to go down a little bit down the list. But I'm telling you, Urijah Faber and Dominic Cruz, this is going to be another good one. Let's see who wins the third and that third outing on that one. So, and the co-main event of the evening, Wanderlei Silva versus Cung Lee. And the winner, of course, is Wanderlei Silva via a knockout. I mean, let's put it like this. Of course, Cung Lee in the first round started out really strong with spinning back fists, spinning kicks, side kicks, and various other things. But at the same time, though, Cung Lee just kept on, making big shots, but he wasn't following with too many combinations that he should have. I mean, I've seen him fight a little bit in the past, and he would normally follow up with some various combinations, but he kept on keeping the distance and not really getting in there like Wanderlei Silva would. And actually, that's what finally got him going, Wanderlei Silva, and especially when the second round started happening. Wanderlei Silva finally was able to hit him really well and actually got in there and actually started throwing some nice Muay Thai knees to the face. And I mean, not just one or twice, but about 6 of them to the head. And then finally, and then Cung Lee was still standing up, but then, of course, he threw a nice left and hit him. And then that's when he went down, and actually, he didn't, not just went down, and he hit him again, grabbed him, and actually kneed him again to a point where he actually busted his nose, really busted it really ugly. And then, then Cung Lee, poor guy, went down. And that's when Wanderlei Silva finally did some hammer fists and punches, and that's when the referee stopped the fight and declared Wanderlei Silva a knockout. And not to mention, even like some few weeks prior to that, Wanderlei Silva has been wise enough to even get himself trained and teamed up with, of course, Henderson Silva, of all people. So the fact that training with Henderson Silva, I also believed really helped, because I truly believe that it probably would have gone the other way if he hadn't gotten any training from Henderson Silva, because let's be honest with you, Wanderlei Silva hasn't been too hot throughout the last few years in the UFC. I mean, especially that quick knockout that he suffered a loss to the crippler Chris Lieben. I mean, wow, And so Wanderlei Silva, I think he's back in his old form now. Let's see how long he can keep this up, because if he can keep this up, he can be pretty soon be challenging Anderson Silva for the middleweight championship, if anything. So congratulations, Wanderlei. The Axe Murderer is back. Let's see how long he stays back. Let's see how long he can still be around. But of course, with Cung Lee, though, great effort on his part. I just really feel that Cung Lee hasn't really been as active as a fighter, and I also believe that's what cost him too. I mean, he's done a lot of he's been making movies and everything, which is really good. But he needs to make up his mind whether he's going to stay in the movies or he's going to keep fighting. So that's one of the things that I believe that Cung Lee needs to figure out at some point before he can move any further. And in the main event, oh my goodness, in the main event was a dream fight that everyone's been wanting to see for years, and that is Mauricio Rua versus Dan Henderson. And this was definitely a 5-round war. Now, from now on, Dana White has basically decided that every main event, whether there's a title on the line or no title on the line, every main event will be 5-minute rounds. So in other words, what's basically going on now is that he's putting that there from now on, so there will be more excitement and definitely just have more of everything, more excitement, different things like that. More along the line, it just makes it even more precious to say. And so, and it actually went the full 5 distance. And Dan Henderson walked out with unanimous decision. I mean, basically, Dan Henderson really dominated the first 3 rounds. I mean, he basically gave him the nice right hand shots to Mauricio Rua, busted his eye open, and really cutting him up in various places in his face. And he basically kept pounding and kept him on the fence and kept him control in the first 3 rounds. Plus, he even put him on the ground and actually had him pounded and even grounded and pounded. But then, of course, Mauricio Rua actually started landing some good shots too near the end of round 3, and had him in so much trouble that, of course, Mauricio Rua looked like he was about to come back. But Mauricio at that point was still gassed out, and then, of course, then after the 3rd round, the 4th round came, and that's when Dan Henderson really started gassing out to a point where Mauricio Rua just started beating up on him here and here out. But then, see what happened was, once he took Dan Henderson down, Dan Henderson, of course, was scrambling, but he finally got back up and reversed it, and that was actually mounting on Mauricio too, and was pounding him and smothering him and everything, but he was too tired to really follow through very strongly, either submission attempts or a real ground and pound. But he did his best, and man, these guys had so much heart, man. I was just like, ooh, it was like I was shaking, I was all nervous and everything, just watching these two just going at it. And then the 5th round was really mostly all Mauricio Rua at that point. I mean, he basically went and grounded and pounded Dan Henderson, and Dan Henderson was scrambling, but yet he still hung in there, and they kept on striking back too. But they were both out of energy at that point. And the only real difference is that Mauricio Rua was a little bit younger, being 29 years old, and Dan Henderson being 41. But it made no difference. It made no difference because Dan Henderson ended up being the winner. They both were not in good shape when they walked out. I mean, Dan Henderson may look like in better shape, but not that much. And so now he'll be the next person to fight the winner of the Machida versus John Bones Jones for the light heavyweight championship next month. So that's the thing. So congratulations, Dan Henderson, on an awesome, hard-fought victory. And Mauricio Rua has nothing to be ashamed of, too. I mean, he really took a nice, heavy hand that knocked out a lot of fighters, including Fedor Emelianenko. So, any event, but this was a terrific event overall. I mean, it was one of the best ones that has been this year. And just to let y'all know, before I get going, I know that Thanksgiving in America is next week. So for all the people who have supported me and all the people who have basically been there, been there for me, supporting me, giving me great compliments and even giving me great feedbacks and stuff like that in a respectful manner, I'd just like to say thank you very much. And I also like to wish you a happy Thanksgiving for you and your families, for that matter. So I just thought I'd give a shout out on that. And, that's basically it. I mean, like I said, happy Thanksgiving to all. So, anyway, I will get going. It's been fun, and I'm going to do my thing from this point forward for the other night. So, take care and good night. And be safe, of course. Healing, it is all that is.